Game Builder Studio.
Okay, now I'm going to create the UI elements and the UI layer for this game. Now I'm going to create a whole new scene container using this button up here, and I'm going to add a layer to that container. Now, the reason why you would want to create a whole new scene container is if you were making like a platformer game, you're tracking the main object, the whole scene would track along with that object, and you don't want your UI elements to be moving. So you would put it on a whole new scene container and put your tracking object on the lowest scene container, so that the UI elements aren't affected. So I'm just going to drag in the hero sprite sheet because it has the pause button on it. And I'll go to the renderer, sprite sheet renderer, and select the pause button. And I don't want it to have any collision space on it, so I'm going to swap that out. And I got to remember to select the renderer. And I'm going to set the registration point for the render to 0, 0. Put this at the top, and I'm going to add a text entity or a quick object, and I'm going to use the bitmap fonts that were created ahead of time. I'm going to go to the text renderer and select the font score label, and I'm going to call this lives. Set it to white. Now I'm going to copy this object. I didn't copy. Let's see. Try that again. And I'm going to create the scores. And the distance. Now I'm going to copy and paste this once again. And I'm going to create the actual score values and use the font score value label or font file. Now I want to label all of these objects, and I want to move them to the scene layer, to the second scene layer. I'm going to name this guy distance text. Score text, lives text, distance label, score label, and lives label. And I also want to move the pause button and label that as well. Let me just adjust these a tad bit. Because these UI elements are going to be updated for each item, I'm going to add a properties or a data component and call it properties. So each score value I want to have a property on it called hero lives. and I'll leave it as an integer, and it starts with the number 5, so we're going to start with 5 lives. I'm going to add another data container here to the score. Call that property score, and we're going to reference these later on to update the score, distance, and the amount of lives that are left.